Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Mind-Boggling Concepts of the Torah. We are going line by line through the Torah, and we're almost up to chapter 2, blazing ahead at a blistering speed. So tonight we are in the bracha that God gives Adam. Now we would see one of the things, I forget his name. He said. What he was a big atheist, and he came up with this line: "Why do you need God? There's nothing that God, belief in God will do. Like if you need God to be moral, and that there's a certain truth to that. But you need God because without God, there's no purpose. If we think of life." I mean, that's what we're suffering. The 21st century is unraveling because we've had 200 years of evolution and atheism that's so solely perpetrated throughout society, throughout our consciousness, that life has no purpose. Because if you posit that we are a product of an accident, the evolution is true, that it's just blind randomness that governs existence, then you have no purpose for being here. You're just an accident. If you can find something meaningful to do with your life, that's really nice. And, all the power to you. But that's not the same thing as understanding that a human being is a precise creation of the ultimate intelligence. Something I talk about a lot in the book. Feel free to read it whenever you want, or 3 times, which Zita has.
At least 3.
At least this year. So, But that's the point. That's if you can't compare the belief that when you're holding something, you're holding a phone, that it was made by someone. I mean, I sometimes doubt that. It's very annoying sometimes. But nevertheless, there were engineers that poured eons of time into the design of this thing, including obviously its software and all its hardware, and therefore it's going to have a function. Every button, every piece of real estate on the screen is meant to be some reason why it's there. It's doing something. It's not there by accident. All the more so a human being. We were created for a specific purpose, and we're not going to find fulfillment until we live that purpose. And that's what we would expect the Bible to tell us. Because when God created man, he created him for a purpose, humanity in general for a purpose. And the Torah points this out. So if you want to see it, it's in chapter 1 and verse 28. And there it says, V'yivechotam, he pointed to them to what their goal was, their blessing. And he said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, conquer it, and rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the heaven, and all the beasts of the field. So these are the 5 purposes of a human being. Now, the ultimate one is to rule over. This is a very hard word actually to translate. It's translated as rule over. Here it says it dominates. The word in Hebrew is urdu, which is the same word as going down. Like when you go to Israel, you make aliyah. It's very interesting, just a little bit of a digression here. The most secular Israeli says he's making aliyah. Right? Aliyah means you're going up. Like you go up an elevator, the same word. Right? Because according to the Torah, Israel is the highest country in the world. Now, it's not higher geographically.
Pretty close, though.
Pretty close, why?
Just I mean, when you're in Israel and you take the you take the car up to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv, you're going up and up and up and up.
Right,
So
that's true.
that's all.
Right,
But
that's true. And when you go
I'm
to Egypt,
sure it's not the highest point, but
right, that's true. And then when you go to Egypt, you're going down because a lot of
Mhm.
Egypt is at sea level. Right, that's true. But it's not just that; it's also in meaning. It's the highest country in the world, and so when you leave Israel, you're making Yerida. You're leaving. Well, it's not just leaving; you're going down.
You feel
Yes.
it also when you leave.
What's that?
You feel that. You feel it when you leave
That's
Israel.
true. That's exactly the point. Very good. Right. So
It's like a frequency, when you have your radio on and the tuner is slightly off. It's there's a static. When you get to Israel, for some reason the frequency feels much clearer.
that's right. Exactly. Right. It's like the old joke about the red phone in the White House. It's just very expensive because you get through to God, right? But in Netanyahu's office, it's very cheap because it's a local call.
Yes, it's a direct call. Yes.
It's a direct call. So if you go back to verse 26, we were just read verse 28, and that's the verse we did this last week, where God says, "Let us make man." And what's the purpose of man? The do the same word again. That he will dominate the fish of the sea, the birds of the heavens, all the animals, and everything that is on the earth. Right. So the ultimate purpose of a human being is to do this urdu, to rule. Which translates here. How does he translate it there?
Rule over for us. What is
Rule
the
over. Right. Dominate. Right. All the commentators or the translators struggle with this word because it literally means to bring down. It doesn't sound very ennobling or very purposeful. Right, but that's the ultimate purpose of a human being, is to do this thing called urdu, to go down.
Is
Right,
it go down or bring down or
right,
both?
or both, or either. We're going to have to struggle with this when we get there, because it's the ultimate. But the first four are be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and conquer it. Now, Rav Noach, one of his famous classes was called the 5 levels of pleasure. So these are the 5 levels. They're right here. He didn't use this as the source. I just should point that out. He used a different place for the source, but this is where I get it from. These are the 5 levels of pleasure. Now, before we even begin, that already is dramatic, that most humanity do not appreciate. And the Ramchal, the author of Mesilas Hashem, brings it in his other book, Derech Hashem, that the pinnacle of existence was the creation of a being capable of experiencing pleasure. There is nothing that experiences pleasure on the physical level. Because atoms don't have pleasure. There's no pleasure atom or bliss gene. The pleasure is a purely spiritual experience, unique to living beings, things with a neshama, with a soul. The higher the soul, the greater the pleasure. We think it's natural and obvious, but it really isn't. Animals do experience some kind of pleasure, but it's nothing like the pleasure of a human being. We're able to enjoy things on a very deep level, obviously, and that's our purpose. Because everything has to live within its purpose. Monkeys like to, if you take a monkey, you put it in a bland zoo, a bland cage, it'll die. You've got to live within its purpose. This is why, for instance, I was just learning about this, interesting reading about this, that dolphins, it's very difficult to keep dolphins in an aquarium They just don't do well. They need wide oceans to be able to fly. Different than other kinds of fish. I don't know how the other fish do. It's hard to know what, because they're not very expressive. Could be the goldfish are frustrated like crazy. I don't know. Get me out of this bowl. It's hard to know. Right?
Yeah.
But human beings need to live in an environment of pleasure. The more we're enjoying life, the more functional we are. And the opposite is also true. It's just for most human beings, we have no idea how to get pleasure. I mean, our educational system is completely backwards. We learn things that are so significant to our ability to function. In other words, if you're enjoying life, you get more things done. But you don't learn about how to enjoy life in school.
No,
true.
essentially you feel like you can't enjoy life because you're in school.
Right. That's the experience of a lot of people. Right. It's a very interesting phenomena that there are people, believe it or not, who just love the kind of work that high school provides. There are people like this. They're mostly dysfunctional, not in a social meaning, although that may be true too, but that skill set that makes you be successful in high school is not usually that helpful in the outside world. So school really doesn't give you the skills you really need to thrive in life. So getting back, so there are 5 pleasures, the 5 levels of pleasure that human beings, and we go through these stages in our lives where we naturally experience them. So we'll start with the first one. The first one is be fruitful, the paru. Now, the rabbis gave this a halachic definition, which means to have children, right? But if it meant have children, that's how you'll always hear it. Right? Be fruitful and multiply means to have children.
Yes, Sefer Tanakh says that you need to at least have 2 according to halacha.
Right. You need to have 2 children. But you see, if it meant have children, then it would say have children.
Oh, wouldn't use it as a...
Right, not as a colloquialism. Right. The Torah is very clear. It doesn't need to say it in obscure methods. If it wanted you to have children, it would say have children. But it doesn't.
So why did you use the word fruitful? Is it because that brings the image of like a fruit to mind, which is like colorful and sweet and pleasurable? Is that the reason?
Exactly.
Or is it a tree that produces fruit? And that's what we should be doing also, not just children, but we should create fruit out into the world.
Oh, very good. Very good. I like it. Right, very good. Right, we should be like a fruit. Right, we should be like a cherry.
Yes.
Right, now fruit is a very interesting phenomena that evolution just simply cannot explain. There's no meaningful reason that the world should evolve fruit. It's not for the most part, a sustaining product.
What do you mean by sustaining product?
Meaning nothing needs to live on. Very few things need fruit to live on. It's not. What's that? You don't need fruit.
Well, people who don't have fruit get certain problems like
Right. Like that's why they're calling the English limers, because they were on the boats without lime. Right. There are some. Right, there are some nutrients you get from fruit. For the most part, most fruit is completely unnecessary. It's just a nice thing to have. It's like the same reason that we see colors. We human beings have the highest range of color perception of any living being. Right? Nothing else sees colors. Right? And so what is the necessity for color? Why is the world engineered for color? When the first people who went to the moon, before they actually got there, they were circling the moon and they were shocked. I remember as a little boy watching it, now those days, all the televisions were black and white, so we didn't really know what they were talking about. But they said it's shocking how black and white it is. There's no color here, and the reason is simple.
Wow.
There's no human beings there. God doesn't need to make it colorful. We need color. Right? It's just a pleasure to have such a thing.
And it's the atmosphere that creates part of that color too, on our planet, our world.
Right. The whole structure of our living creates a dynamism in color that is, we all experience it, and it gives us a thrill in life.
What is the Hebrew word for fruitful?
Paru.
What?
Pari, from the word
Bari?
Yeah, pari. Pei Reish Yud.
Wow.
It's very interesting. I was talking to a manager of a grocery store, and I asked him, I said, why do you put the fruit and vegetables near the entrance? It's so annoying.
That's Rabbi.
What's
I like that. I don't know why you
why?
find it annoying. I like that.
Yeah, why do you like it?
Because that's the main, to me, that's the main part of the most delicious part of the grocery store.
But it's annoying because you put your fruit and vegetables in, and then you put your eggs, and then you put your milk, and then you put your toast and your cheese and everything else. And by the time you get out of the store, the strawberries are mush.
Oh, you have to put it in the little.
Yeah, right.
For kids.
But if you go into a supermarket in Israel, it isn't always right there as you come in either.
Oh, really?
There is one spot, anyways. It's the near the train station, the first station. You walk in and the vegetables are at another section. So
that's very meaningful. See, because he said to me, the reason they do that is because fruit and vegetables, especially fruit, are an impulse item. Even today, even with candy, when you see it, you buy it. It's very hard to resist a good-looking orange or a nice-looking apple. Right? It makes you want to buy. So they put it right there because you come in, and then you get in the mood of buying. Completely manipulative. Despite with the fact that they say they care, they don't really care.
It's not so bad, Rabbi. It's not like, it's bad for you. If it was, vapes that they put in front of there, I'd have a bigger problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Baruch Hashem, they put fruits and vegetables, all of it good for you.
Yeah, no, 100%. But nevertheless, but the point I'm making here is that it's an immediate pleasure item. That's what fruit represents. That we need things in our lives that give us an immediate pleasure, a thrill. Right? Now, as I said, we all have an age which we naturally grow into these pleasures. So children, from the get-go, babies from the get-go, have pleasure. There are things, it's on the level of fruits, it's immediate stimulus things, but there are things that they enjoy, and they just naturally enjoy. It doesn't require thinking. You just wash the apple, they'll eat it off the floor. But you just, they'll put the strawberry right in their mouths. They'll put everything in their mouth, actually. Right? And that's what we all need. So when you're in that age, it's hard to go back into the thinking there. But when you're in that age, all you have is that pleasure. So for them, that pleasure is the thrill. I call it the thrill age. It's when whatever age you're at, that level of pleasure is your thrill. So when you go into the next level of pleasure, as you grow and mature, you get to the next level, that pleasure now will never be your thrill. You can't enjoy an apple, an orange, a strawberry, anything like you did when you were 2 years old.
This is true.
It's never going to be, you can enjoy it 100%, but never like you're 2.
Because it's not new anymore?
It's not your thrill age. This is not you're not living your purpose. You're not living your your height of who you are. As your soul, your neshama grows and wants to experience higher pleasure, because that's what it's here for. So wherever age you're at, this is going to be the new film. It's sort of like, Rav Yaakov Weinberg had a rule in the family that no one was allowed to give his grandchildren ice cream before him. Right? Isn't that interesting? Right? No one was allowed. So I asked Rav Semper Weinberg, why is that? He said, because he wanted to be the one to see their faces when you first had ice cream. And when you're 3 years old and you have ice cream for the first time, it's, oh my goodness, who invented this stuff? Right? Now, I don't care, how good the ice cream, Ben and Jerry's, it could be Haagen-Dazs, it can be Baskin Robbins. You're never going to get the thrill of ice cream like you were when you were 3. It doesn't.
So he would have it first?
No, he would make sure he would give it to them first.
Okay.
Because he wanted to see their faces when he first tried it.
So that was his pleasure.
That was his pleasure, 100%. Right? Because that's how we're designed. We should be thinking how to maximize our greatest pleasures in life. So you had grandchildren. This is, what am I going to enjoy with my grandchildren? Seeing them enjoy ice cream. Right? That's how we should be thinking. How do I maximize the pleasure in my life? Right? Now you can't enjoy ice cream. So when we get to the second level is Peru, is Rabu. It's become many. We're going to have to figure out what that is. But when you get into the second level, the first level loses its luster. Right? So what's the second level? Rabu. What's Rabu? Become many. How do you become many? How do you become many?
You become many by spreading the pleasure.
No, how do you become many?
Be fruitful and multiply.
The Sassoon, I forget his last name, his first name, Sassoon. So he used to say that this idea of narcissism or not narcissism, or selfish or not selfish, is really a misnomer. Because when I ask you who you are, you'll say, well, I'm myself. But you're also your spouse, you're also your children, you're also your greater family, you could also be your community, you could also be your country. Because how do you identify yourself? There are some people that the only thing they care about is themselves. They're very solitary, lonely people. And there are a lot of people who identify themselves as their car. Right? That's my car you're talking about, or my house. You see that a lot. Right? You insult their house. Right? If you're an artist, right, they're painting. Right? But how do you become many? Is because you identify, a human being has the ability to see something else as themselves. Or not themselves. If God forbid somebody loses a limb, they're not less of a person. Even a part of them is not there anymore. Because we have the ability to identify something as ourselves or not ourselves. And we can do that with people. And that's a great pleasure. It's called friendship or love. Right? We can do it with our spouses, our children, our neighbors, our relatives. We can do it with the whole world. The more we identify other people as ourselves, the more we become. We become many.
Ah.
So
when we identify like with all of Am Yisrael, then we become that many.
That's exactly. It's a great pleasure. It's a great thrill. So you see, again, going back to our children, around 7 years old, 10 years old, around that age, they start to get into friendship. Right? 3 years old, it's gummy bears and ice cream and donuts.
Completely independent of anything. They're just in the world. They haven't made relationships yet.
Right.
They haven't made many.
Right. But when they start to, like I do carpool with the kids, my grandchildren in the morning, now they're into friendship. They're about 8 and 9 years old. Now they're into friends, and friends is everything. It's everything. When you got to come over, when you got to play, when you dress up, it's all friendship, and it's a tremendous thrill. When you get into the fact that when that's your thrill age, you can't go back now. Candy doesn't mean as much. It's still a thrill, don't get me wrong. It's still a pleasure, but it's not the same thrill as when it's your thrill age. Right? That's what you see, like these billionaires who go back and try and buy these buy these exotic cars. Right? Because they're trying to live the thrill age of when they were 6. Right? And they couldn't buy cars because they didn't have any money. Now they've got lots of money going, I'm going to do anything I want. And they remember what it was like to have a toy car when they were 6 years old. I'm going to go back and buy that car.
It's
Right?
so true.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous, right? And
Oh
they
my
think they
God.
can have, right? And it's the same thing as why these guys, they run off with the secretary, because they're into that thrill of when you were a teenager. But you're 60 years old now.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to compete. You're not in your thrill age. It's never going to be the same thing as when you were when you were a teenager. Right, your first date, right? You have serious friendships, and that was your thrill. When that was your thrill age, right? You lived it. It was a phenomenal thing, right? So we slowly matured. You can't go back. Now, what Narcius would explain even deeper is that each thrill has a counterfeit. And when you experience the counterfeit, it destroys the whole category. So you
destroys the whole category? What does that mean?
Yeah. So you see, right, little kids, they can play with things for hours and hours. I remember Lego sets and blocks and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. But then they get into the counterfeit, and the counterfeit is status. Mm-hmm. So what they want, see, children are very discerning customers. They know what they like. I always was amused. One season, the popular toy was flipping a water bottle. I don't remember that, right? It was like they take these water bottles and they will just flip it and you get it to stand up. And that was the game. How many times you could flip a water bottle? Just a plain water bottle, and the toy companies are going bananas because they can't sell these things. They're just plain water bottles, and there's no gimmick in it. There's no branding. There's no nothing, right? The kids are very discerning. Don't know what they put on the advertising or anything. They know what they like, but then they get into right what's the cool toy, what everyone else likes, and they're not discerning enough to know themselves that they don't like it. So they think they're going to like it too. And then they get the toy and it doesn't hold their attention as long. And they don't know why. See, up until that point, they enjoyed everything they got and they could play with it for hours. But now that they get into this status thing, they experience a toy or some pleasure, and it doesn't hold their attention. So now they don't know which one they like and which one they don't like. It destroys the whole category. It loses the thrill into the same degree. It's not the same thing. The same thing happens in friendship on the second level. You have the first friends when you're 9 years old, 8 years old, and you have your first friends, and it's all exciting, and teenagers and everything. But then you find a friend who rips you off, is a narcissist and all kinds of other junk, right? And it burns you, and you lose the whole category. So now you don't want friends, and you're careful. You don't know why this one didn't work out. You don't have discernment, right? And destroys the whole category.
Really? Destroys the whole category? But I didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same thrill anymore.
Oh, it doesn't have the same thrill.
Yeah.
But you still have friends, no?
You can still have friends. You still have friends, 100%. But it's not the same thing. It's lost a lot. It's lost a little bit of its luster.
Yeah, okay.
You got
That makes sense.
birds. The third level, Peru Vavabu. Right? Peru, let's just find Peru. A Maluk, fill the earth. What is that one? How do you fill the earth? Does that mean you put on weight? I'm filling the earth. Look, I'm 500 pounds.
Fill the earth.
Rabbi, can we back up? How did you say? What's Peru?
Peru is immediate pleasure things like ice cream.
Strawberries.
And everybody has to have, you have to have things. My father was great at this. He always said, you have to have things in your life that you just like, you just enjoy. A lot of these people in the Western world, they're very successful and they have nothing in their lives that they enjoy. I can always tell when I go into somebody's office that they don't like being there. They got all these fidget games and silly toys and things because they don't like being there. They don't enjoy it. They just don't enjoy it.
That says a lot about his office. He has a bunch of like the kids' paintings, and
Yeah,
the whole thing is mostly paintings from the kids.
right. That's great, right? Because those are the things you enjoy. That's what you should have in your life. Things that you really enjoy. People don't take the time to do that because as you go up the ladder, the higher pleasures, you forget the previous ones. So when you're on the love age, Rabu, that's and then you forget everything else. But you shouldn't. You've got to keep each pleasure. It has a place for you. We should live.
You mean you should keep like the pleasure of like fruits when you first got introduced to it as a kid, and then the pleasure of like being introduced to new things and trying to figure it out, and then the pleasure of friends. So what's the fourth one?
The fourth. What do you mean the fourth one? The third.
So we already went through three.
Three. Well, that's a three. Maluk, fill the earth.
Oh, Malu is the third. Okay.
Yaakov Platin, a friend of mine, so he saw Rav Noach. This was years ago, before they actually did it commercially. But he was at the bar mixing orange juice with apple juice or something like that, right? They're doing a mixture, and now they sell these things, right, in cartons. But in those days they didn't. It was either orange juice or apple juice or whatever the other juice was, pineapple juice. So he said to Rav Yaakov Platin, he said to Rav Noach, he said, do you like that? So Rav Noach said to him, yes, and you should figure out too, right? Like you should maximize how you enjoy whatever it happens to be. I like coffee, so I work at trying to get the best coffee.
I thought it was Earl Grey tea, Rabbi.
It was.
Now it's coffee.
Now it's coffee.
What's your best? Or is it one of those things where you keep searching for that? You had that flavor at one time and you just can't find it anymore.
You keep but at the moment I've got this coffee that's just like phenomenal. It's you're right. I think it could be there's something better, but this is about as good as. I don't want to plug it. I don't get any sponsorships on it. It's called Very Strong Coffee. Their website is called Very Strong. It comes out of England actually. Of course, they don't grow it there. But this company has researched the coffee with the highest caffeine content.
Ah.
Oh my goodness.
It really gives you a kick.
That's why you never sleep. Amazing. And it's called Very Strong. I'm going to look it up.
Very Strong Coffee. That's the website. VeryStrongCoffee.com.
I don't know, Rabbi. This doesn't seem to fit the pleasure category. This seems to fit the do a lot as much as possible because you're getting a caffeine kick category. I don't hear pleasure here.
The caffeine affects I think the caffeine affects the flavor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's not the same thing.
How much I know.
It's the same thing with beer. They make these beers with no alcohol in it. It's not the same thing.
No.
Doesn't
That's
work.
Just wrong.
It's just wrong, exactly. So anyway, we did Peru with Mabu. Malu, what's Malu? What's Malu? Fill the earth. Well, how do you fill the earth? So this is easy to see, and it's sort of counterfeit. Henry Ford was very big on this. Right?
Make up stuff?
What's that?
You mean by making a lot of stuff?
It's not just making a lot of stuff, it's having his name throughout the world.
Oh, so like Abraham, Hashem promised him that
That's
he would be
right.
able to do that.
Right, that's the real one, right? Your name was spread throughout the world. Right? We want to be famous. There's a real pleasure in being known.
I find that whole idea very scary.
Yeah, it's true. Because each, as Noah said, the higher you go, the more dangerous is the counterfeit.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to get lost with fruits. You can't really go wrong. You can eat a lot of it, but it's just right. Friendship that can really get you off. That you can really get messed up with. Right, relationships that can really love. That can really right, but making a difference, putting your name out there. Whoa, that's really pulls people in. That really pulls people in, and the counterfeit is very dangerous. People want want respect, and they want to be known. You know, I don't want to get political here, but it seems to me that Elon Musk is not into that. He called it Tesla or SpaceX. He doesn't put his name out.
You mean it's not Trump everywhere?
It's not Trump everywhere. Like Trump is into this. Right? You see the difference. Right? It can be very. I think he would be a much better president if he didn't do that.
I wonder if he's even serious about it. I think he does it for the purpose of brand name, like just so that everybody knows, like it's connected.
Well, he used to do it with Trump Tower. It wasn't. This is not a new thing. But the point is, and we'll get into politics or anything. The point is that there is a real pleasure in doing something meaningful, important, good, that leaves a mark. It's not just about friendship. It's what do you stand for? What are you doing? Are you helping people? Are you making it's not making a difference. It's doing the right thing, having a great reputation, fills the world.
There was an amazing thing I heard was someone was standing looking at a tombstone, and it said, 1922, and then there's that line to when they passed, and they were saying it's that little line in between. That's the important part. What did you do in between that? And I was like,
that's it.
yeah, I hope I'm doing something in there when it's time to go.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Very good. Very good. So
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think
No, I've
just
been
from the
interrupting so
feminine
much.
side.
It's your turn. Sorry. My apologies.
This is
I
what
would
we
think that
do.
this is very hard for like a Jewish woman because, unless they're like in the workforce, and even when they are in the workforce, they're not trying to call attention to themselves and make a splash and etc. So like, their main focus is, their family. How do you like square that away?
Well, it's actually very good because the counterfeit is business. Now you see, remember, each one as you reach your thrill age, it's more enticing. So a person is into games and food and everything. Then they have friendship, love. They get married, right? And that's like incredible. They're blown away. It's just such a great feel. And then they start their own business or they get a career, right? And you see this is your thrill age. You hit around 20 years old, you start thinking, what am I going to do for the world? What is a career? It's really just answering the question, what am I going to do for the world? Now, why being a patent lawyer is the thing that's going to, or divorce lawyer going to be the thing I'm going to do? That's a different question. But nevertheless, that's how they think about it. When you're into that thrill age, it takes over. And then you forget about your family. You're in the office. You become a workaholic. You're working all the time, right? and it's the corrupt, it's the dysfunction, it's the what how to explain the counterfeit, right? So women are far more able to see that because they're not naturally drawn to business necessarily. Some of them are.
I was, but thank God I left.
Right, good. Right, you have a far bigger impact in the world, and you're gonna feel better about it through building your family than you will by having a plaque, a gold watch at the end of 50 years in the office.
So you're saying for us, we get that sense of satisfaction of Malu when we raise our kids and we focus on that, and we look like long term rather than the short term results type of mentality that you would normally have in the business world.
Right.
And that's your fame. Fame doesn't have to be out in the public. Fame can be privately within. And I think in the world right now, there's too much fame out in the public and not enough fame in the private of.
Right, there's social media is creating a lot of that, right? Very good.
Yes.
But this will explain why men, like within a couple of years, and typically of retiring, drop dead.
Only you would say it that way, Rabbi.
Maybe we should edit that out, but it's true. They the retirement for men is a disaster because they got nothing. Their whole definition was the office, and now they're just puttering around. With women,
they don't end up spending time with the grandkids. I mean, I imagine there must be a lot to do with them.
No, but you see, you can't just turn it on. You can't
if you haven't spent the time nurturing those relationships, you can't just jump in and all of a sudden, okay, I get what you're saying.
Right, and that's why women, they do live longer. In fact, the greatest holders of wealth in the world, despite what you might hear on the NPR, is women.
Because they inherit from the husband that dropped dead after all that business.
Right. Women hold the statistics on it are ridiculous because they hold all the money. They're the surviving people of all these men who dropped dead at 62. As I mentioned, not retire. It's not a healthy thing to do. Or they should have a meaning. They should be doing things like they should be following their wives' footsteps.
But really, Rabbi, I mean, like, if you look at the Bitachon book, right, from the Beis HaLevi, he pretty much says that the only reason we have to work is because God commanded it. And really, like, your input is not really relevant because God gives you exactly what he's going to give you. So it doesn't matter if you work 8 hours at the office or you work, 15 hours at the office per day. At the end of it, God's still going to give you the same amount. So, like, why are people investing so much time and effort when, as a Jew, you really need to do the spiritual stuff because that's the real malu, or whatever the word is?
No, 100%. Because they're rational. The Yetzer Hara's got the better of them. They think they're making it. They're filling the world. It's fulfilling this need of being out there, of having a presence out there. They think because they produce great spreadsheets, they're a meaningful person. That's where they get their meaning from. It's very interesting. I mean, this is going to take us off topic a little bit. But the Gemara says, at the end of days, it's in the beginning of Avodah Zarah. I forget exactly which page, but the first few pages, the Gemara says, in the end of days, the Almighty is going to say, okay, it's over, game over. Let's add up the scores. Let's tally up the scores and see who gets brownie points. So you can say who's got merits here. Who's did good things. They want to get paid for, right? So all the nations come forward, and the first one out of the gate is the Romans or Esav. So it says Esav is going to come forward and say, we did some really good things, right? So God says, what did you do? So it says we made money, we made money, we made marketplaces, and we made bathhouses. 3 things.
Made what houses?
Bathhouses. right? All for the Jews. So the Jews could learn Torah. You hear that? Right? So,
Bath houses?
yeah, then like the Western world, Esau, which is the Western world, comes from Italy, but it's the philosophy changed the world. Right? When you think like a Westerner, like China, for instance, runs its industry, runs its economy along the lines of Western thinking. Japan, right? Very smart people, industrious, but nevertheless, nothing comes out of Japan for thousands of years. And they become westernized, and all of a sudden they're a powerhouse. Right? Korea, Singapore, all of these countries, right?
Yeah.
So the Talmud says, what's the thinking? Right? They build bathhouses, marketplaces, and money. And they do it all for the Jews can learn Torah. So the Gemara says, Romi Hayevis, Rome the guilty one. This is the only nation that calls them the guilty one. Right? So what are they guilty of? So when Napoleon, the evil of Napoleon wasn't just his complete destruction of society, of countries, and his ruthlessness, was that he changed the face of war. See, up until Napoleon, war was a very English civilized affair. So if let's say America wanted to go to war with Canada, so Donald Trump would call up, who's the Carney, right? That's the guy now. Right, would call him
Carney.
up. Carney.
Carnival.
Say, okay, we need to have a war, right? So the Carney said, okay, fine. I'll send my troops to some field, and you meet us there. January 22nd, whatever it happens to be, and we'll battle it out. And I would send 10,000 troops, and you'd send 10,000 troops, and they would fight it out. And whoever was left standing won the war. Okay, you won this one. Okay, let's have a l'chaim. Okay, all done. Right?
And if you break it down to the very essence of it, was back when dueling.
Yeah,
if you offended someone,
right.
You had a duel together, and you, oh my gosh.
Right. That's how it was done. Right?
Yeah.
Right, 1770, the British sent their army. They expected the Americans to send their army, but the Americans didn't do it like that. Right, so Napoleon changed the whole rules of the game. What he did, he conscripted thousands and thousands of the citizens of France. And these massive armies. And of course, that made everyone else have to change the nature of their war too, right? Once you break that mold, you can't go back anymore. And so wars then took over whole countries, and the destruction was devastating. So what did Rome do? What was Asav do? What was their thing? Is if you go everywhere, Romans. It's a very interesting thing, right? If you ever go to England, everyone should go to England, and they should go to London and go to Euston Station or Victoria Station or any one of these. They're great. They're phenomenal. What's the one from Harry Potter? Charing Cross, is it? I forget the station 3. Platform 3, 11 3/4 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So these stations are phenomenal because they were built with the new technology, not phones and internet and stuff like that, AI, but the railroads were the thing that changed the whole world. And you should go to England and you ask yourself this question: how did these people rule the world?
You mean the British? How did the British rule the world?
They had at one time the biggest empire the world has ever seen.
Yes.
There must be some spiritual reason that God.
Okay, so you want to go that one? Okay, that's not an unreasonable point, right? As the saying goes, the sun never set on the British Empire because God didn't trust the English in the dark, right? Then how do these people run the world? Right? Then you see no longer go to Greece. Right? These people really did run the world. Right? Then go to Italy. Right? The Romans, you go every country in the world. You can find Roman viaducts and roads, and the technology and the impact was just incredible. And what it was is that's what the Talmud was saying. You see, every nation has to have a reason for being. It's not necessarily articulated, but it's in the fiber of their existence, right? And the Romans built their system on making a difference. It wasn't consciously spoken out, but it was in the same way that the Jews are learning Torah. Why is there so much anti-Semitism? You go around the world out of the blue. I was at this conference a few months ago, and it was all these intellectuals and rich people and everything, and they're trying to figure out. And the answer that they came up with is the marketing these anti-Semites have is phenomenal, which is completely absurd because it isn't. Right? We've had the last 70 years, we've had Hollywood movies about the Holocaust, and we've had every advantage in the sun, and it doesn't make any difference because underneath it all, they hate the Jews. Why? Because we contradict their reason for being. They want to be the new Jews, the people that are going to change the world, the people that stand for something meaningful. And that's what the Gemara is coming to say, like Napoleon. They said, we're going to change the world through business, through commerce, through marketplaces. The West makes marketplace. Amazon is the new age of marketplaces. No one does it better than the West. They know how to organize it. Right? Follow indoor plumbing comes out of the West.
So why is Esav chayav? Like why is he?
Because they, like the same way Napoleon said, for the sake of France, join the army. So they said business is the way to save the world. And that's what
and if you don't have it, then you can't really.
That's right. That's why they don't value women.
Else.
Right.
Oh, now I get it. I didn't understand. Okay.
Right? You follow? And it all came crashing down. You know when?
Was that in 2007, 2008? When? No.
The Holocaust. The Holocaust proved you didn't civilize anything. You're still barbarians.
You mean like the fact that they had the marketplace, but they didn't really change human.
They didn't change. It didn't create a small. They thought if you have science and business and economies and arts and music and all these things of society, we're going to be the new Jews. We're going to save the world. And that's the motivation. That's why people spend so much time and their whole lives, just to make money, because it's part of the responsibility. And if you don't have a job, you're a parasite. And if you're only learning Torah all day, you're a parasite. You're not really part of what's really making the world a better place. And it all came crashing down with the whole. That's why they denied it, because it can't possibly be, because it really is. These are the things that are going to make the difference. And so after the Holocaust, they said, okay, it's not going to be business. You know what's going to be?
Socialism, Marxism.
That's right.
Socialism.
Socialism, right? And
feminism, even.
Woke, and all these other things, right? And when did that all come crashing down?
9/11, October 7th.
October 7th. That's why the people that deny it happened, because it can't be. This can't happen in a world where everybody is listening. We banned hate. We banned hate. How can this possibly happen? It doesn't happen. Didn't happen. Right, you follow? And they hate it. They hate it. So all of a sudden, you got all these people around the world hating Jews because we proved that unless you're following the Torah, unless you're living a proper life, there's no substitute. You can't institute. Doesn't work.
Wow.
So Malu really is Torah. It's really following God's word.
It's right. That's right. That's right. But they think they got an alternative. That's what the Gemara means when they said we did all these things so the Jews could learn Torah. You go to Jeff Bezos, he's not thinking that he did it for Jews who learn Torah, right? I don't know if he knows what the Torah is, but he was doing it because he thought Amazon's going to save the world.
I
He might
thought he was
not,
just doing it because he wanted to be ridiculously rich.
that's convenient for that.
Well, I don't know if he wanted to be ridiculously rich. It ended up being that. I remember in 1990 where people were buying books on Amazon and everything, and the whole thing just mushroomed. I mean, but it's the same thing with Elon Musk, where everyone's, oh, he's a horrible human being. I don't know. Is he? I had people tell me he's a Nazi. I'm like, are you kidding me? He invented an electric car. He's trying to do something like,
Right.
really? Like,
Right. So
again, it's just,
because he's not
there's
part of this
another
whole,
world of, if you're not successful, they hate you. If you are successful, they want to knock you down, which is kind of the world we live in right now. It's anyways,
so
I don't,
we digress. So we're
I'm
into
digressing,
no,
sorry.
we all digress. So this is Malu, fill the earth. Right?
Yes.
So this is a tremendous thrill. When you're in that stage, it's a tremendous thrill, and you'll lose everything else. The counterfeit is destructive. With counterfeit is business. Is very seductive. Just like each stage up is more and more enticing. The counterfeit is more seductive, more dangerous. Right.
Is
So go ahead.
is the fill on those five things, does it apply to all humans or just to us?
No, all humans. This is all
Yeah.
humanity. All humanity.
Yes.
But then we get to the fourth one, Kivshu. Kivshu. The Kivshu, the fourth one, is, I think he translates conquer. How does he translate it there? Conquer his here. Comes from the word to pickle. It's the same word.
Like pickled.
Pickled cucumber, right? It's the same word, to pickle. Right? It also means to conquer. It means to completely change. It means to make a difference. Greta Thunberg, make a complete difference.
How does she get into that?
What's that?
How does she even get in here?
Because that's
my
the
goodness.
motivation. That's the thrill. When you're in that thrill age, right? Oh my goodness, it's so gravitating, it's so enticing. It pulls you right in. And the counterfeit is the opposite, which is being destructive, which is very, very common. A lot of this woke stuff is all destructive. You'll see that, like, what's it, Antifa. I saw an interview with the senator from Pittsburgh, from Philadelphia, not Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
A great guy, right? And he was asked, he's a Democrat, and he was asked, on which side does the greatest hate come from? He said, clearly the left. He said, the hate now I get is so disgusting, so bad. I don't want to repeat some of the things he said, but we were. It's so bad.
That's promising.
Crazy. It's crazy. People know because they want to make it. When you're into, we're going to make a difference, and you're the only one stopping us. It's incredibly enticing. You think about the Second World War and the Nazis and what's coming back again.
It's just dressed up differently. That's all.
That's exactly right. Very enticing. And you can forget everything else. Right? You lose all balance and you're left empty at the end of it. It's very destructive. We just keep doing the same thing over and over again. So then
this is like no longer interested in kavod and honor and making a name. It's more like make a difference. I don't care that my name is associated with it. I just want to make a difference.
Right. You see that people give up themselves. They don't care. Right. They say you got people to, for a meaningful reason. The Allies in the Second World War, people were going to make a difference. I've heard that the time of greatest productivity in America was the Second World War because we're making a difference.
they believed it, and so that's why
Right.
they put so much of their effort and time, etc., into it.
Right. It's very easy, and this is why humanity needs an enemy. It's very easy when you've got a really good bad guy.
But it's so much better to say what's the thing inside of me that I need to work on.
That's
It's
true.
so much less messy in some ways.
Right, that is true, but it's harder to discern. But it's easy. You're going to go wipe out the Nazis. It's true. It is meaningful. You are making a difference, but it's very hard to replicate in daily life. You know, that's why you can be incredibly motivated and sustain all kinds of trouble and pressure. You know, these people went, you know, after 9/11, they volunteered to the army, and they're out in Iraq, and they're incredible temperatures and uncomfortable and sleeping in the dirt and eating terrible food and being shot at and all kinds of terrible things. And they do it with pleasure. But they come back and they get divorced. You know, Chris Rock makes this point. I hope I'm not Jason. Chris Rock says Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in a South African prison on what island was it called? Not Nelson. I forget the name of it. Some island. And 6 months after he was freed, he divorced his wife. So, you know, what was she, Chris Rock makes the point, like, what was she doing to him? Nothing. That he wasn't making a difference. Right? If you can't figure out how to make a difference, as Rav Nark used to say, you know, people are willing to die for Judaism or for Jews, but they don't know how to live for it. They die for their country, but they don't know how to live for their country. It's no easy. That's the beauty. That is the great value proposition of what the Torah gives us.
It's just a much harder,
because it's harder, exactly.
More detailed, more effort, more time, more everything of you. It's really investing yourself.
Right.
Like the other one is like, okay, I'm investing my body, but living for Judaism means investing you, who you are.
Right. You got to really think it now. It's not so easy. It's obviously not easy. But that's the fourth one, right? So what's the fifth one? The Yiddu. So what does that mean? So the Mesilas Yesharim explains in the final chapter of the Mesilas Yesharim, he explains what that means, and is what is called Kiddush Hashem. It's to go into the world, to go down into the world. You see, we get married. We learn Torah, we go to shul, right? And you have Yom Kippur, and we're elevated, and we take classes, and we learn, and we daven, and everything, right? But the real work happens when you get back to the home, and you have to deal with your spouse, so you have to deal with your children, you have to deal with your work, right? It's going down into the world. You go down into the world.
Mm-hmm. To raise it up.
To raise it up.
That's the conquering?
What's that?
That's a conquering?
That's Kiddush Hashem. That's a Kiddush Hashem. When you go down into the world and you elevate the world. That's the meaningful thing. Right? That's the ultimate pleasure. That's the highest thing, thrill in this world. Is when you do something like that.
What's the counterfeit?
The counter is Avodah Zarah.
But translate that in modern terms.
You're serving yourself.
Or serving something else.
It could be serving something else, but it's ultimately serving yourself. You see that with politicians. Right? There are the normal ones and the healthy ones and the down-to-earth ones. That's true. But there's also the egomaniac ones. Right?
The ones that pretend to care when they really don't.
They're dangerous. They're very dangerous. They're very dangerous.
Which it's probably one of the only professions in the world where there's no you're not vetted for anything. Like, you know, it's like you want to be a doctor, well, you got to get a degree in that. You want to be a politician, I don't know, you could just be some idiot who decides I'm going to be popular.
Right. It's crazy.
So dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very dangerous. 100%. 100%. All right, very good. Thank you, guys. Lovely
Thank
seeing
you,
you,
Rabbi.
Jason.
It was
Oh,
amazing.
lovely to see you. Next Wednesday?